I am Schmidt, a refined and enlightened pescatarian about 90% of the time.
New Girl Schmidt is a pretty cool character. Sure, he's funny,
Damn it! I can't find my driving moccasins anywhere!
well written, and portrayed by a talented actor, but it's more than that. Schmidt undeniably starts out as a douchebag. He's pretentious,
Pine has no place in this loft. It's the wood of poor people and outhouses.
cocky, and overall, just not a great guy.
What are we talking about?
Did you just hear the phrase lesbian community and come running out of your room?
I did.
But soon, his character begins to develop. He keeps his quirks,
Mango chutney, really any type of chutney.
He's right.
What? No!
and his underlying positive traits, but sheds more toxic ones. It's a wonderful example of positive character development. How did the writers of New Girl do it? Before we really get into it, let's look at two terms I'll be discussing a lot in this video: toxic masculinity and positive masculinity. The former, more well-known term, toxic masculinity, has been defined many times, but I'm personally a fan of Cambridge Dictionary's definition of it. Ideas about the way that men should behave that are seen as harmful, for example, the idea that men should not cry or admit weakness. Toxic masculinity is not merely masculinity. Doing things that are perceived as masculine, let's say sports, isn't toxic. On the other hand, some examples that are toxic: sexism in most forms, suppressing emotions, sexual aggression, etc. Now, let's look at positive masculinity. Where toxic masculinity is exhibiting traditionally masculine traits to the point of being negative, you can probably guess that positive masculinity is exhibiting traditionally masculine traits in a positive way. A great example of this is Terry from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He certainly exhibits his fair share of traditionally masculine traits, yet he's also compassionate,
I'm making my twins a picture book for their birthday. It's called Junebug and Cricket.
emotionally open, and a huge fan of yogurt.
Yogurt?
Oh, get a lot of yogurt.
I love yogurt.
In New Girl, many of Schmidt's current insecurities come from a past of being bullied for his weight, being unable to accept himself, and a lack of connections.
I'm alone! I'm alone! I'm alone!
After having what he perceives as a physical glow-up, most of his confidence is based in shallow aspects of himself, namely things like his looks or the amount of women he can get.
I am having sex with this woman right here.
Before Schmidt starts his character arc, the show sets up our expectations to think that he'll stay how he is, fitting nicely into the comedic but underdeveloped douchebag character.
Have a nice day, douchebag!
Yes, Schmidt makes a funny
I
douchebag,
just found a Groupon for hypnosis lessons. Think about what you can do with that. Sex stuff.
but luckily the writers saw that he could be much more. Max Greenfield, the actor who played Schmidt, has said himself that at the start of the show, during this douchebag phase, he wanted Schmidt to be nothing more than comedic relief. He wanted Jess and Nick to be the show's Jim and Pam, and for him to be Dwight. And that worked. Schmidt and Dwight do have a lot of similarities. But eventually, writers realized Schmidt's unfulfilled potential, which drove him into... Schmidt is soon presented with a group of supportive friends who he feels comfortable talking to.
Well, what are we gonna do? Sit around all night and talk about love?
And with a love interest, and his character begins to grow. As he matures, so do his views on masculinity, and although these views are sprinkled throughout the show, he articulates his exact opinion in Season 2, Episode 8. Here's what he says.
Manhood today is about exfoliation and cheese courses and emotional honesty and Paxil. And yes, cutting peppers in a classic style de Julien. Okay, you may have bested me in a competition of pre-Clinton manhood, but I am Schmidt, a refined and enlightened pescatarian about 90%.
Though it might seem that all that happens here is Schmidt defines masculinity as a more classy, perhaps pretentious trait, a description that does fit him.
Who would want to throw this away?
A blind man who suddenly recovered his sight?
He's doing more than that. He's defining it as anything. For Schmidt, this means it's
Cheese courses and emotional honesty and Paxil. And yes, cutting peppers in a classic style de Julienne.
But for Terry from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, that might mean it's about caring for his daughters and loving yogurt. The important thing is that as long as it's not toxic, it's whatever you want to make it. In tons of shows and movies, there's a false dichotomy when it comes to masculinity, saying that it has to either be very toxic or this specific type of positive, and that guys fall under one of those two categories. Moreover, there's an illusion that apart from that one small description of positive, everything else is toxic. In reality, it's the opposite. Tons of expressions of masculinity are positive, with just a very select few being toxic. I probably didn't need a whole video essay to talk about this though, because it can pretty much be summed up in 2 words.
Schmidt happens.
Thanks so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed the video. We're very close to 200 subscribers and might have even gotten there by the time I upload this, so I'd really appreciate it if you subscribe. It supports my channel, and more importantly, if you subscribe, I automatically think you're cool. Lastly, to my returning subscribers, well, first of all, I think you're cool. Also, sorry that I haven't uploaded in so very long. I have been working on something very exciting that hopefully I'll get to update you on in my next video, so stay tuned for that. Bye!